Hello students, after watching today's video, you will be able to understand the concept of motion of center of mass and linear momentum of system of particles. But before studying or in order to understand this video, you should have the previous knowledge of center of mass, linear momentum, position vector of center of mass for n particles. So let's start today's video. First topic is motion of center of mass. Consider in this topic, let us discuss physical importance of center of mass of system of particles. We know that in this topic we will find the answer of the question, how will the center of mass of a system respond to external as well as internal forces. We know that position vector of center of mass of n particle system is given as r vector is equal to m1 r1 plus m2 r2 plus so on mn rn divided by total mass of a system, that is m1 plus m2 plus m3 so on up to mn, and this represent the total mass of a system. So we can replace this m1 m2 plus m3 plus so on by the total mass of a system, that is it is equal to m. Now multiply this total mass to the r vector, we get m into r vector is equal to m1 r1 vector plus m2 r2 vector plus so on mn rn vector. Now differentiate both sides this equation, that is we get m into dr divided by dt, d upon dt of r vector plus m1 d upon dt of r1 plus m2 d upon dt of r2 so on, last is mn d upon dt of rn vector. Also we know that rate of change of dr upon dt, that is rate of change of displacement, gives the velocity. So these give the value of v1, v2 and v3, and this will be the velocity of center of mass. So this can be written as total mass velocity of center of mass is equal to m1 velocity of first particle plus m2 velocity of second particle plus so on mn velocity of nth particle. Here this v represent the velocity of center of mass and it is equal to m1 v1, that is momentum of individual particle, first particle, second particle and so on up to nth particle. Now again differentiate this equation with respect to t, that is d upon dt of v is equal to m1 d upon dt of v1 plus m2 d upon dt of v2 and so on, last term is mn dn divided by dt. And we know that rate of change of velocity is equal to acceleration, so this will give the acceleration of center of mass, acceleration of first particle, second particle and nth particle. So we can write it as m into center of mass of acceleration m1 into a1 plus m2 a2 plus so on mn an. This equation gives the acceleration of center of mass and this gives the acceleration of individual particles. And we know that according to Newton's second law of motion, product of mass and acceleration will give the force. Therefore, we can write it as F m into A is equal to F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus so on, last is Fn. Therefore, total mass of system of particles, that is capital M, multiplied by acceleration of center of mass is equal to vector sum of all the forces acting on the particles. Among these forces, there will be external forces exerted by the agency outside the system and also internal forces exerted by the particles of the system on each other. But according to third law of motion, internal forces exist in equal and opposite pair and therefore their contribution becomes zero. So this force will represent only the external force. So we can write it as m into acceleration of center of mass is equal to F external. F external, this F external is the sum of all the external forces acting on the particles of the system. This equation shows that center of mass of the system of particles moves as if the entire mass of the system were concentrated at the center of mass and all the external forces were applied at that point. However, we conclude that whatever be the system of a particle and whatever be the motion of individual particle, the center of mass will move according to this equation. Therefore, regarding this equation, that is m into acceleration of center of mass is equal to F external. When we talk of the force F1 on first particle, it is not a single force but the vector sum of all the forces of the first particle, likewise the second particle, etc. Among these forces of each particle, there will be external forces exerted by the body outside the system and also the internal forces exerted by the particle on each other. Now, according to third law, the internal forces occur is equal and opposite in pairs, so sum of the forces contribute to 0. Only the external force contribute to this equation, where F external is the sum of the external forces acting on the particle. Now, one of the most important point from this equation which we have derived, that to determine the motion of the center of mass, no knowledge of internal forces of the system of particle is required. For this purpose, we need only external force. To obtain ma is equal to F external of a particle, we did not need to specify the nature of system. Second topic of this video is linear momentum of system of particles. Linear momentum of system of particles is defined as P is equal to product of mass and velocity. Newton's second law written in the symbolic form for a single particle, F is equal to dP divided by dt. Rate of change of linear momentum is equal to external force, where F is a force on the particle. Now consider a system consisting of n particles having masses m1, m2, so on mn respectively, and their velocities are v1, v2, vn respectively. Therefore, particles may be interacting and having external force acting on them. The linear momentum of first particle is m1, v1, second particle is m2, v2, and so on. For the system of n particles, linear momentum of the system is defined as the vector sum of all the individual particles of the system. That is, we can write it as total momentum is equal to linear momentum of individual particles. So there are n particles, so that is Pn. Now we know that linear momentum is the product of mass into velocity plus mass of second particle into velocity plus so on mass of nth particle into velocity. This will be the total linear momentum of a system consisting of n particles. If m is a mass, total mass of the system of n particles concentrated at the center of mass, and v is a velocity of center of mass, then we can write P is equal to m into v. Therefore, from equation 1 and 2, we can write it as P vector is equal to m into, m is a total mass, m into v vector, which is further equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 plus so on up to mn vn. This shows that total linear momentum, that is P, of a system of n particle is equal to the product of mass, total mass of the system, and velocity of center of mass. That is total linear momentum, sum of the total linear momentum of n particles is equal to product of total mass of a system and velocity of center of mass. Now differentiate this equation both sides, we get dp vector divided by dt, which is equal to m dv divided by dt, and which is further equal to, we know that this dv upon dt is equal to acceleration, so we can write m into a vector, which is equal to f external. We already studied. This is the statement of Newton's second law extended to the system of particle. It means in an isolated system, the vector sum of external forces acting on the system or the particle is equal to 0. If external force, that is system is isolated, that is no force is acting externally on the system, then this F external is equal to 0. Therefore, dp upon dt is equal to 0. This implies p vector must be equal to constant, because derivative of linear momentum is equal to 0, and so this quantity is constant. Also we know that P is equal to mass into velocity of center of mass, that is equal to constant. It means velocity V is equal to constant. That is velocity of center of mass is constant. Velocity of center of mass remain constant when total external force acting on the system is equal to 0. That is, there is no external force acting on the system. Now let us take example for motion of center of mass independent on internal force. Consider a projectile is fired from origin, and along its way, along its trajectory, or along its path, when it is moving, it explodes into different fragments. Projectile is following parabolic path as shown in figure. This is the parabolic path which is followed by the projectile when fired. It explodes into fragment in the midway in the air. Suppose this projectile explode into two fragments, one is going along this way and second is going along this way. Now the force leading to the explosion are the internal force, because there is no external force acting at this point along its trajectory, along its path, so the force is only the internal force which is responsible for the explosion of the projectile in the midway. Therefore, the force leading to the external force, they contribute nothing to the motion of center of mass. That is, now if particle is moving along this and their second particle is moving along this, then their center of mass again lying at this point, that is at the midpoint, along the same path which is followed by the projectile before explosion. If fragment reach at these points, then again center of mass will be at this point. So the path of the projectile will not change. The center of mass under the influence of external force continue, therefore they along the same parabolic path as it would have followed if there were no explosion. So the path of center of mass remain same before explosion and after explosion, so there is no effect of external force acting on this. This is example of second example is the example of binary stars. In binary star there are two stars which are moving along, which are rotating. Consider first is moving along this orbit and second star is moving along this orbit. First star is supposed present here and second star is present here, and the line joining of these two stars having center of mass at this point. This is the point where center of mass lies. This point, this is the point, that is this point represent center of mass. Binary star is a system of two stars that are gravitationally bounded to and revolve around their center of mass. For example, figure given below this figure, there are two stars, that is star A and star B. They are revolving about their center of mass. In the absence of external force, that is if there is no external force acting on the system, the motion of the center of mass is just like free particle, that is a straight line. Motion will remain same. There is no effect of internal forces and external forces acting on the system is equal to 0. Then center of mass behaves like a free particle. Third example, we can take the example of radium. Consider a radium nuclei. This is a radium nuclei and it disintegrate into nucleons of radon and alpha particles. Suppose it decay into two parts. First is radon, second is alpha particle, that is helium, as shown in the figure. The force leading to the decay are the internal forces, because there is no external force acting on this, and the responsibility of decay is possible only because of the internal forces. External forces on the system are negligible, so total linear momentum of this system will remain same before and after the decay. If the decaying radium nucleus is at rest, the product of the decay, Rn and helium, moves back to back so that their center of mass remain at rest. Line joining of these two will be the center of mass, so center of mass will remain at rest. In second situation, if radon, that is Rn, if radium is moving with uniform speed, then it again decay into two particles. One move along this, that is helium alpha particle, second is Rn along this direction, but its center of mass will remain along this direction, that will move with constant velocity because there is no external force acting on the system. If the decaying radium nucleus is moving along a straight line, with some velocity, the two products decays. One moves along this and second moves along this in different direction in such a way that their center of mass keeps on moving with the same velocity along the same straight line as the original decaying nucleus was moving. That is, center of mass will remain moving with the same linear velocity as it was before decaying. That's all for today's video. Thank you.